So, hi, I'm David.
And I'm Gail.
So, Gail, why are we standing here in our kitchen with two loaded backpacks in front of us?
Well, it's because, David, we are about to embark on a continuation of a very long walk that we've been walking for years.
Yeah.
It's called the Via Francigena, or the Way of the French People, and it's a walk from the Middle Ages.
Yes, it is. Yes. So the walk is pretty long, actually. It's one of the longer pilgrimage walks you can do. It actually starts in Canterbury and goes to Rome. However, we actually started in London and then walked from London to Canterbury and then proceeded from Canterbury to Rome. So we broke it into stages, 4 stages in total. We've completed 3 stages so far. And we're about to head off right in a week from now, actually, to complete the last stage, which will take us to Rome. We'll be starting in northern Italy in a small town called Fidenza.
Yeah,
and we'll be
just
heading
south
off
of
to Rome.
Milan, right?
Yeah.
So we'll be walking through Tuscany, and
Yeah.
it'll be lovely.
Yeah.
So, David, why are we talking to everyone right now about this?
Well, we're talking about this right now because what we want to do is even though we're just doing a part of this one stage coming up in a week from now, we'll be going from
The grand finale, mind.
Yeah, Fidenza to Rome. We've actually done the 3 stages before this, starting in 2019. So we thought we'd like to give you a feeling for what it's like to walk the full trail as we have, starting in London actually, and getting as far as Fidenza, just to let you know what it's like, and hopefully it might encourage you to do the same.
Yes, imagine, because you actually go through England and France and Switzerland and Italy. So
Italy, yeah.
it's really a lovely trip.
Lovely big trip. Something to be enjoyed, and if you're up to a very good long walk, then this is certainly will answer that question. Now, we're going to talk about those 3 stages that we've done so far, and along the way we'll be sort of throwing in a lot of practical tips of how we approach the trip ourselves, because there's various ways of doing the walk, and ours is certainly maybe not necessarily the standard way, but we think it worked quite well for us. Mm-hmm. So I think with that, we should probably get on to
let's get into stage 1.
Stage 1. So let's head off right now.
See you there.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, these are the 4 stages all in total from London to Rome. We broke it into 4 different stages. Stage 1. Stage 2, again, these are already accomplished. In stage 3, we'll be talking about all 3 of these now. And then stage 4, we will start in next week.
Right. So really, the route starts from Canterbury, but we really started from London just so that we would have more England to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And we ended up in northern France in a small town called Tournai.
Yeah, so we started at St. Paul's Cathedral. We just thought it would be fitting to start at another cathedral.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And then walked basically through Kent for 6 days. It was about 120 kilometers of walking.
That's right. And it took us, the first 2 days, we're just getting out of London proper.
I would recommend this as a route if you just had less than a week and you wanted to walk through England. It's an easy walk. Very historic with the beautiful churches.
That's
and
right.
The fruit trees.
And it's known as the Chaucer Way, based more or less on the Canterbury Tales.
Right.
And actually, there is now a formal Via Francigena add-on trail that goes right from London to Canterbury.
So we were ahead of our times in 2019.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful countryside, as you can see. Lots of good English food.
Yes, it is.
Along the way.
Good English beer.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Here we are in Canterbury. We're just starting our Via Francigena route now.
Right. So the reason it starts in Canterbury is that the Archbishop of Canterbury in 990, a fellow named Cedric, walked to Rome and back to get his vestments. And he kept a diary. And so later historians were able to cobble up what his route was. And that became what we today call the Via Francigena.
So here we are. We've arrived in Dover, and we take the ferry across to Calais, and now we're having a glorious walk along the Atlantic coastline a French village, Wissant.
Yeah, so in the Middle Ages, Wissant was basically what Calais is today. It was the point of embarkation to England.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll see lots of really good food. In France, I think we dined really well
Right.
throughout. Really enjoyed it. The other interesting thing about traveling through northern France is that essentially the route is following as well the Western Front from World War One. So we're Canadian, so a lot of our Canadian fellows died during the war right along this line, and there's numerous cemeteries which were, I would say, deeply moving, I would say.
It was.
Yeah.
There is a sadness to the land because of the cemeteries, beautifully kept, and a lovely honor to men who died needlessly in some respects. But yes, the land is pocked by the war, and buildings are in ruins as a result.
That's right. Now, just backing up sort of the parameters for how we walk the Via Francigena, is that we make sure we walk every foot of the pilgrimage route, right from London to Rome. In other words, we didn't skip any stages at all. We wanted to make sure we did it all, and we did it in order as well, right from London to Rome. We also made sure we carried everything on our backs. There was no luggage transfers involved. So that means our packs had to be on the lighter side, or as light as possible anyways. The other thing is that we stayed in hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, and rental apartments. We didn't stay in any pilgrim accommodations along the way. We're just of an age where we need some creature comforts, and especially we need a private bathroom. So that was important to us.
And we do take about every fifth day off. We call it a 0 day, just to tour and to have it as a restoration day.
Yeah. And by the way, we're going through Arras right now, which is right near Vimy Ridge. That was one of our 0 days, so we could visit Vimy Ridge, which is a very...
Right. There's the Canadian National Vimy Memorial there, a towering structure, but also on land vested by France to Canada in appreciation to the contributions of the war.
So you'd be walking through this lovely gently rolling countryside, and you'd come across these very beautifully maintained World War I cemeteries.
Very, very moving.
Very
and
moving
sad.
indeed, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Toways, there's a large canal, St. Quentin Canal in this area. Mm-hmm. This is the Somme. You hear about the Battle of the Somme, and that's what we're seeing here. Yeah,
and it's important. We found it important to take in museums along the way. There's good museums devoted to World War I, so you want to watch out for those and take advantage of those. And we had, you can see some of the small villages here, very, very small, and here we are in Tournier, actually.
Yes.
So that was stage one, which we successfully completed. We had no problems, actually, worked out rather smoothly. However, stage two started with a rather major hiccup, didn't it?
Right. I mean, our date of departure was March 28th, 2020, and that says it all, doesn't it?
Yes. It was the pandemic, and we had to do we were about to leave in about a week, and all of a sudden everything was just completely shut down. We were able to successfully cancel everything, so we got that all accomplished, and we retooled for 2022, September of 2022.
Right, and it probably, it was time to leave. It was safe again.
Yeah.
But it just was coincidentally harvest time in the hills of Champagne, and we started where we left off in the Champagne district.
Yeah, and then that basically it went mostly straightforward, except towards the end.
Right, our destination was the most marvelous city called Besançon, which we certainly recommend. But just days before, there was another hiccup. So stay tuned.
Yes, we'll get to that.
And let's just say, I've lived to see another day.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's get on with stage two.
Right.
So it was another 2 years before I guess 3 years before we could resume the trip.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that was stage two, which took us from Tournier again to Besançon, or that was our...
Okay, David, what happened here?
Oh, yes. So anyways, being a still photographer and also a still photographer who grew up in the era of black and white, pre-digital times, I suddenly got an interest in returning back to my black and white roots and started doing this stage of the trip in black and white. And I don't know, you can leave comments below. I find it really quite dramatic. I think a color is nice, but I think black and white to me is even nicer. But let me know what you feel about it. It's certainly it can be a divisive point, believe me.
It really gives it an archival quality, especially when you're taking pictures of those old stone buildings and Gothic carving. It looks to me like something you'd see in an old architecture text.
For sure, for sure. So anyways, the countryside continues to be this gently rolling countryside. However, the beautiful thing is that we're starting to head through the
Champagne district.
Yes.
We are here approaching Reims, or we call it in English Reims. I was corrected, but that is the capital of the Champagne district.
Yes, yes. So we were walking through some of the prestige Champagne grape areas, and the grapes were in absolute, just ready to be picked. And through some judicious picking along the way, I was able to sample some of those grapes, and they were absolutely luscious right off of the
This
vine.
is the Cathedral of Reims, Reims Cathedral. It is a high Gothic masterpiece and greatly destroyed in World War I. It's been really rebuilt.
Yeah. And Reims was definitely one of our 0 days.
Yes, well worth visiting.
Yeah. So
just for the cathedral alone.
Yeah.
It became the poster child of destruction as early as 1914.
That's right.
In the early months of the war.
So you just saw us, we're in the thick of the Champagne district.
Every little town would have champagne houses, and they would be literally houses.
Yeah, that's right. And wherever you had dinner here, champagne would be on the top of the menu. And because there were small vineyards, the champagne would be relatively affordable, I would say.
And available by the glass and available all day.
So you're seeing here one of our accommodations. It was a nice chateau that we happened to find that we stayed at. It was quite nice. Just to talk a little bit about our accommodations, I like to pre-book everything right from the get-go before we even leave on our trips. So I'm using things like Booking.com or Airbnb, or I'm digging into Google Maps because occasionally you can find some small little motels or hotels or places there as well. Occasionally we have to divert our route just to find accommodations. They're not always that easily to find along the way.
Especially this portion. It's still not all that given to pilgrimage yet.
That's right, yeah. Now, when I'm booking an accommodation, I always choose the most cancelable option. I never choose a non-refundable option unless it's absolutely required, simply because there's no other place to stay nearby. But I want to be sure that I can cancel just in case things go wrong. And some of the features that we look for, of course, are private baths are a must. It'd be nice to have a fridge or a bar fridge and coffee, or otherwise, it'd be nice if there was a breakfast included, although sometimes timing can be an issue because sometimes breakfast is served a little bit late. And especially in Italy, when we get there, air conditioning is definitely a must as well. You definitely need it. And we also, when we're booking accommodations, because I'm doing it well in advance, I can talk to the lodgers and arrange perhaps meals, especially if you're arriving on a Sunday or Monday. It's a good chance that all restaurants and even grocery stores are going to be closed. So I can talk to them and say, well, can you provide us a meal? And generally they're pretty obliging in doing that, or finding some sort of a way around it, taking us, even driving us to a restaurant. So
it's not a unique situation. They're used to this as hosts.
Right.
We are still in an area where it's kind of remote, or there aren't a lot of people living in these little villages.
Right. So I hope you're seeing here that the countryside is quite beautiful along the way. It might not be mountains that people are seeking quite often, but the gently rolling countryside certainly offers a lot. And we tended to run into a lot of festivals along the way.
I think it's because it was fall time.
Yes, that's
Autumn
right.
festivals are a cultural thing.
Yeah. So, and it's always fun. You get to talk with people, we've met some people. They actually featured us in their local newspaper because we were big news there going through there. It can be quite charming just
It can
running
be.
into people.
Yeah,
along the
they'll
way.
even drop us a letter sometimes back home. So
Right.
this is the adventure of traveling, right?
Yeah. And you also run into some unique changing architecture along the way. If you're interested in that, you'll find some unique architecture along the way. We ran into a little area that had wooden churches, for example.
Yes, half-timbered
Half-timbered
medieval churches. Now, this was an area that was not decimated by the war.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And you can see there's some quite wet days as well. You got to be prepared for that with your proper rain gear and just ways to stay dry as dry as possible.
Right.
Anyways, but we always think we're fairly fortunate. The rainy days are much less than the really nice days along the way.
I think as long as you keep safe,
That's right.
That's what's the main thing.
That's right. Oh, look at that food.
Oh, gee. At this point, we're about 2 days away from when we're going to stop walking on this second stage. But unfortunately, it's going to come to an abrupt ending. We don't know that. But I caught my foot on a curb and went down. And oh, there you go. These two kind people helped us and drove us to our next destination, but not before taking me to the French doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my friend Marielle and Michel.
Yeah.
And then they took us to our next bed and breakfast. And there we have Anne and her husband Frederic, who drove us to Besançon, which is where we were supposed to walk to.
Okay, so that's stage 2.
Well, I guess third time lucky, right? We were able to resume, and that was last fall, the fall of 2023,
Yes.
where we left off. So you met Michel and Muriel, and they were kind enough to say, please resume your walk where you left off. Because what happened was the fall was a bit more serious than we had thought. The French country doctor had said it was a contusion. When I got home 2 weeks later, I found out that I had a fractured kneecap. It did heal, and with physiotherapy, I was fine for the entire trip last year, and that was mountainous.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
we were very, very lucky.
That's right. So as Gail mentioned, we did start in Gy and headed towards Besançon once again, and then proceeded from there, and took us quite a ways through Switzerland and into northern Italy to Fidenza. So anyways, without further ado, let's get on to stage 3.
See you there.
So we resumed stage 3 last year in the fall of 2023, where I fell in Gy, the town of Muriel and Michel. And they asked us to stay overnight. And we spent a lovely day with them before actually starting in earnest. But then David had to reenact the fall.
That's right.
So there you go.
That was exactly where it happened. And then once we got that jolly little event happening, then we just proceeded on our way. For the first 2 days, we're heading into Besançon, which we're heading into right now.
Beautiful city that we would recommend to any traveler to France.
Yeah.
Even if you're in Switzerland, dip into France to go to Besançon.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a 0 day, at least, at this point. Now, I should mention that pertaining to Besançon is that we quite often used trains sort of to shuttle us between trailheads. Sometimes it worked out better just to set up a base camp, in other words, a base hotel in a nice town, and then use trains that would then shuttle us to trailheads. For example, in Besançon, we had a nice hotel for 3 nights. We walked then from G, which is our starting point, to a train station, which is about 20 kilometers away. Took a train into Besançon, stayed overnight, and then the next day took the train back to that train station and walked into Besançon. And then we had a 0 day in Besançon. And then the next day, then we started just walking on to the next town. So we, in a way, had a couple of days in a quite a nice town.
Right. So we never ever lost any of the Via Francigena. We were true to our intention to walk every kilometer.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to book trains, even just minutes before you catch them. You just have to download the French CNCF app or the Trenitalia app in Italy. It's pretty easy to do. The other advantages is then you can carry a very light day pack if you've already set up a base station.
So looking at these slides, by now you can see that things are getting more mountainous as well. I'd say that the signage is much clearer, and we were encountering more pilgrims on the route by this point.
Yes, starting to anyways, yeah. And it was also, we were there, it was fall, but it was very hot, even in Switzerland. We were in Geneva at this point. This is another 0 day.
Yeah.
I took a nice boat ride on the lake there.
Actually, August, not quite fall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because the challenge of this particular route is that we are going to be crossing the highest point of all of the Via Francigena, which is the Great St. Bernard Pass on the border of Switzerland and Italy, and the home, of course, of the St. Bernard dog.
Yeah. So here we are walking along Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
And it was quite a beautiful walk. You're walking past beaches and families having picnics. It was quite glorious.
Past Lausanne and Montreux. I mean, these are world-class, rich destinations.
That's right. And up through the vineyards that you just saw as well. This is Montreux. That's Freddie Mercury from Queen.
Yeah.
And Chateau de Châtillon, which is a nice little site to drop into.
It's often in movies.
Yes. And then we're heading inland now through getting into more and more mountainous regions.
Right. So we are now in Switzerland, aren't we?
That's right. We are in Switzerland for sure. And
that's our Via Francigena t-shirt. That's where we bought it.
Yes.
Saint Martin.
Mm-hmm. Now, I should say that in terms of our walking days, that
to St. Bernard. I'm sorry. I can't.
No, that's good.
We'll see more St. Bernards.
That's right. And that was in Martigny, wasn't it?
That's right. We hadn't yet reached the pass.
Yes. Yeah. And some nice people take some photographs using itinerant photographers. Taking black and white photographs.
The Romans were here too.
Really appealed to me, yes.
Yeah, a lot of Roman ruins.
So getting back to our travel days is that we try to keep it within the 20 to 25 kilometer walking day. Sometimes they would dip down to 13 or 15 kilometer days, which might seem a little short, but then it gave you to explore a nice town at the end of the day. And some days you would have 30 plus kilometer days. That would be a pretty hard day. We have done 40 to 45 kilometer days, but that's a really brutal long day, and you really do want to avoid that.
It's when you have no choice.
Yeah, it's when you absolutely have no choice at all. So here we are. We're heading up now.
Yeah, this is the St. Bernard Pass.
Getting towards it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that glorious mountain scenery, as you can see here. And that's the pass up there.
And the hostel there is almost 1,000 years old, having served pilgrims all that time without rest.
Yes. And the reason we started so early on this trip, why we were, this is just still late August, is that you have to be careful that you hit the St. Bernard Pass before you start to get bad weather.
And 10 days later, there was snow on the pass.
Right. Yeah.
So and the snow doesn't disappear until June.
Mm-hmm. We certainly had really good weather going up there. It was a nice warm day, as you can see by our garb. It was more hot than anything.
Right. Yeah. So you leave the hostel area in the St. Bernard Pass, and you're immediately in Italy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we're heading down now, and
this is the Aosta Valley.
Yeah. Now, as you can see there, we had a nice picnic lunch actually, and something to be aware of. It's not always possible to find a restaurant at lunchtime. Quite often there's not any restaurants at all. So, or if there are any, there's a quite possibility that they're closed. So you have to be prepared. And so we always made sure we carried an emergency ration of Wassa crackers and a tin of sardines that we could munch on along the trail. Or if it was possible, we would pick up sandwiches on the day that we're leaving on a trail, so we could have a nice fresh sandwich somewhere at around lunchtime. And it's always nice to have a nice picnic lunch, actually, with a beautiful scenery in the background.
It is. There tend to be pergolas with grapes in the vineyards of Italy. It's a different approach that we hadn't seen until that time.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And there's our bad weather day. We were actually having our picnic lunch, and it decided to downpour just as we were setting down to have our lunch. However, it was you always have a very nice dinner at the end of the day.
Yes,
sure.
And you just go with the flow. You have no preconceived notions. Again, the important thing is that you stay safe.
Yeah.
You don't get injured.
This is another 0 day. We actually took a train to Torino from our trailhead, or the end of a trail anyways, and spent a day there. That's the Shroud of Turin, or mock-up of it, actually. There's a beautiful cinema museum there as well. And then we headed back, took the train back to the trailhead and continued onwards. And now we're in the Poe Valley, which is very flat, actually, and it was extremely hot.
And shadeless.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded us of Manitoba, southern Manitoba. So it wasn't a shock to the system.
So and this is where water becomes important. It's always important. You always want to make sure you're carrying water, even though it's very heavy. You want to make sure you're generally carrying, well, we would generally carry 2 bottles, 600 milliliter bottles of water with us. However, I find that we usually only drank about 600 milliliters of water a day.
We're probably not poster children of water drinking.
Drinkers, yeah.
We should be better.
Yeah, so this year we're trying to lighten our load, so we're just going to try to just carry one 600 milliliter bottle of water with us each day. We also bring pristine water purification tablets, just because they're lightweight and they're there for an emergency if we have to use local water.
Milan.
Milan, yeah. Again, another 0 day.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
not really
2
en
0
route.
days, yeah. No, we had to take a train to Milan to get to it. Mm-hmm.
We'll be flying into Milan this time. We've always flown into Paris because we've always been pretty much in France.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So again, we're continuing through the Poe Valley. The interesting thing, you could say it's kind of a relentless walking in some respects, but it was kind of interesting. We would be going through tomato fields. They were harvesting tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. That was quite interesting. You'd be able to pick up a Roma tomato off the field, and
there are rice fields. That's how you get risotto.
Risotto.
Alfalfa for cows to make the beautiful cheeses.
That's right.
Because we're in like the Parma area. What else? We got lots of very famous food. Ricotta for your tiramisu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it was, you always find something. You think that you have to be aware of what you read online about some places, about people saying that they're boring or they're going to pass by or things
Never
like that.
skip, because we've had some of our greatest adventures in those so-called skippable parts.
Anyways, here we are in Fidenza now. This is the end of our stage 3 trek.
And where we'll start again on those very steps next time.
Okay, so Stage 3 is under our belt, and today we are looking forward to the resumption from where we left off last year, and that will start next week.
Yes, so we'll be heading off to Italy, to continue from Fidenza to Rome through the Tuscan countryside. Looking forward to that quite a bit, and you'll be interested to know that this one is going to be completed. This section will be done in color. And it will also be done in video instead of still photographs. This is something very new for me. So, and that's just because we started our Travel Intently YouTube channel just in April of this year, actually. So it's pretty fresh for me, a new thing to do. I'm looking forward to it. However, there will be some challenges. We hope to keep up our schedule of putting out videos twice a week, once on Monday
And Thursday.
So, and the idea is to show you what the walks are like as we do them. Really,
Right.
sort of quasi live, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, naturally we will fall behind
As we go along.
So we will, in fact, when you see the videos, be at some future
Later stage,
point.
yeah.
But hopefully all will go well, and we will just continue to be posting these even when we get home.
Yeah. So we certainly look forward to you following us. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also the all notifications button, so you'll get notification of new videos when they are posted. So you can follow us on a regular basis, and we certainly appreciate that, and all of your likes, of course, and all of your comments, of course. We really
Especially, and we
like
will
that.
try to reply to those
As we
while
go
we are on the road.
Yes.
So, travel intently, and please remember the Via Francigena.
Yes. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.